Hello everyone and welcome to this Microsoft Excel video. And today I'll be teaching you about the Excel pivot tables and why we should use them. Firstly, let me state the reasons why we should actually use the Excel pivot tables. Number one is due to the filters. The first thing you'll notice when you create a table is that filtering controls are added to the table headers automatically. Number two, sorting. It is very easy to sort the data after you entered our filters in our Excel pivot tables. Number three, easy data entry for charts and pivot tables. Number four, automatic autofill. Number five, calculated columns. Number six, headers are always visible and available. Number seven, the total row. And number eight, quick formatting. All right. Now that we have gotten these things out of the way and understood why we should use Excel pivot tables, let me show you how to create a pivot table from the list over here, and then we'll find some percentage totals from our pivot table that you can see over here. All right. So now let's begin. In these examples, we have sales and quantity data by product, customer, and company. All right. The first thing you need to do before you insert a pivot table is to make sure that your data is organized in a proper format. This means that the data should be in a tabular data format, as you can see over here. Each column should have a header. You shouldn't have any empty columns in the middle, and you should also not have any empty columns or rows in the middle. The only thing that you should be not concerned about are the total and the subtotal rows. Okay? Once you can confirm that all these things are available or already ready for your table below, we can start creating our pivot table. All right. So now let us begin. So now let's insert our pivot table. To do that, let's just click anywhere on the table in our document. After that, we'll go to Insert, and then we will select the pivot table from here. Now you can see that for the range, Excel has already chosen a table for us. Now, the thing is, if I add more lines over here, they will not be considered in our end report, and I'll have to update our range, and we should actually avoid this step. So what should we do actually is, before I turn this table into our pivot table, we should turn our data into a set. We should turn our data set into an official Excel table. Okay, so how do we do that? This has an advantage because whenever I add new data, my pivot table will automatically update itself and also reflect that. Now, all we have to do is go to Insert again and then press the table option. Now Excel will automatically select the range for us, and this will happen only if you have no rows or columns empty. Okay. After that, we'll press all OK for this option. Now you can see that Excel has created a table for us, and we can see that it is presented to us in a unique table style. All right. The next thing we'll do is basically give our table a name. So we'll go over here to the table name option in our table design, and then we'll write this as the pivot table sales. All right. Now press enter, and you can see that there Microsoft Excel is saying that the syntax of the name is not correct, and we have to verify that these few options over here. But the main problem is, because I put space over there, this is why Microsoft will not allow me to create this pivot table name. Okay, so let's write pivot table sales. All right, now if I hit enter, you can see that Microsoft has accepted it and we have no more problems. Now that we are done doing that, we can click on this option which says summarize with pivot table, or we can go back to Insert and then click on pivot table. All right. And now as you can see that we get our table name. Now if we add new data, our pivot table will update itself. Okay. Another thing you can do while creating our pivot table, like before I create this, I want to show it to you. So this is now in a normal table format. We can also click on the recommended pivot table. So I'll click here anywhere on the table and then click on this. Here you can see that it is giving me a recommended pivot table, and here we can have sum of sales USD by customer name, company name, sum of quantity, and this and that. So yes, now you can see what I'm trying to say. So now we'll just select on the sum of sales USD. Neil, your phone silent house. So now I'll select the sum of sales USD by customer name. All right. So now let's just click on this, and you'll see that our pivot table is provided to us in a new sheet where it shows us the sum of sales. All right. This is the result of my table. It does not require me to write a single formula to do this. All right. Now on the side here, you can see that we get our pivot table fields. All right. And you can also see that we have them organized where the fields are on one side, and over here we can drag them down to the filters, columns, rows, or values according to our needs. All right, now what we see here in the fields over here are basically the headers of each column that I have in my table over here. As you can see, company, company name, etc. All right, so you can see that all of them are present over here, right? Now, if for some reason you do not want to see the sum of sales, instead you want to see the average, we'll just click on this option over here. After that, you can see that we have the field value settings. We'll click on this, and then it shows me a separate pop-up view where you can see that we have the summarize value field by option. And then over here, I can just click on the average and then press OK. Now you can see that we have the average over here, and our grand total is also showing us an average. Okay. Now we can also do this over here. We'll just click on the average of cells, right click on it, and then go to value field settings. After that, we can just select the sum and press OK. Now you can see that it has returned to its former values. All right. Now say I want to put commas in my numbers over here. What do I do for that? I'll just right click on the sum of sales over here, then click on number format. Be careful not to click on format cells because that will take me to a different settings. Okay, so let's click on number format, and then after that, then we'll go to number, use a 1000 separator, and we'll put the decimals to 0. Press OK. Now you can see that we have the sum of sales, and there are specific commas between each of the numbers, which shows us the values properly. Now say I want to add region to my filters. So I'll just click on region from my field options, then drag it to filters. Now we can go back over here, then select this, and now you can see that I have two regions, America and Europe, and say I want to only choose America. Okay. And if I press this, you can see now it shows me only the cells for America, or I can just select all of them and press OK. But for this chart, it does not make any sense because I only have two options. All right. Now let's press OK, and we're back to where we started. We can also decide to put the region in another field over here. Say I want to add the region to the columns over here. So after that, you can see that we have our specific regions and how much our specific employees have created in our specific regions, and also the grand total. All right, we also get the grand total for our specific regions as well. Now say I want to put the product description in our fields over here in our rows specifically. So let's go there in our field section, select product description and drag it down to rows. Now here you might want to update the design of our pivot table. So for example, we want to go over here to pivot table analyze or design, and then we will just go to the grand totals over here, then we will select either for off row columns or for on row for columns and rows. So now if I click on this, you can see off for rows and columns. So this is basically asking me, do I want my grand total? Now if I select this, you can see that my grand total has disappeared and it completely removes it from my Excel pivot table. If I activate it for columns only, so I'll go back to design and say on for columns only, you can see that at the bottom we have our grand totals instead of the rows or the columns over here. Okay, now we can do the same thing for our subtotals. If I select do not show subtotals, you can see that it has removed all the subtotals for me and I have only the grand total below over here. Now as for the report layout option, I personally like using the show in tabular form, which helps me to find all the descriptions of my customer names, products, and also the region from which they bought my products from. And as you can see, the data over here looks very organized and easy to read from. Now another thing you want to do is basically go back to repeat layout, but what I'm trying to do is basically fill in the gaps over here so that it might be easier for you to see what I'm trying to show. So let's select repeat all item labels, and now you can see that we have no problem describing which item belongs to which customer, and it looks very nice. All right, so I'm going to remove that again. Now the next thing I want to show you is the small minus buttons over here. Now if we click on them, you can see that it collapses itself, it compresses itself, and we can see that our data is only showing the regions instead of our product's description. All right, now let me bring it back and I'll teach you something more about these buttons. So they're very small to press, so it takes some time. Now if you want to remove these buttons from your pivot table, we can just go to pivot table, analyze, then click on the buttons for our show ribbon over here. And if I click on this, now you can see that the buttons itself has disappeared from my pivot table. All right, now the field list is basically the option over here. Now let's say whenever I click outside, it just goes off, but if I click it accidentally and it does not come back, we can just go back to pivot table, analyze, and click on field list over here, and there you go, our pivot table fields are back in place. Great. Okay, now let's go back to our table, and I want to put the table back as it was, so I'm going to remove the region. Now in order to remove your fields, you can just right click on them, or you can go over here, click on the drop down menu and click on remove fields. Okay, so I want to remove the region and then the product description. Now that I have done that, you can see that we are back to the sum of sales USD. All right, let me right click on it and then select number format, and this time in currency I want to give them a symbol of dollars. So press OK, and now you can see that we have dollars for our currency and also the grand total. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is basically we can change the title of our headers over here. Now say instead of sales or sum of sales USD, I just want to write sales USD. Now if I click enter, you can see that Microsoft Excel does not like that because it already exists. This is because in our field table over here, you can see that somewhere inside the word sales USD is already present, which is why it doesn't like it. We can solve this problem by easily adding a space before or after the whole sentence. Now if I press enter, you can see that Microsoft Excel doesn't give a damn and we are absolutely fine. Now I can also change the title for a grand total. Instead of grand total, I would just want to write the total over here. Now if I press enter, you can see that Microsoft Excel is fine with it. Now let's do something and change the pivot table style. So in order to do that, we just click on the pivot table or anywhere inside the pivot table, go to design, and then we can click on any of these options. But if you do not like them and you want to create your customized own pivot table design, you can select this new pivot table style option. But for now, I'll just click on this option over here. All right. Or I can click on this one. This seems nice. Yeah, green one seems nice. Nah, it's not good. How about the orange one? Yeah, the orange one is good. Okay. Now the next thing that we'll do is basically sort our values from smallest to largest. So right click on this and then we will show, where the hell is it? The heck? Now we'll just select the right mouse click and then go to sort and then select sort smallest to largest or largest to smallest, whichever you want. I'll select the smallest to largest. Now you can see that we have it sorted very well. Now let's go back to the original topic. We actually wanted to get the sales percentage by customer as compared with the total. And let's say I also want to see the complete sales value over here. So what we do is basically bring the sales USD account in a second time for our values. All right. So let's go over here and select this and put it in our values a second time. Okay. Then we just right click on it and then we can say show values as percentage of grand total. Now you can see that it has shown me the percentage very easily. And now we're going to call the total over here, or the header over here, sales USD percentage. Okay, let's put in total in the back. Now we are done. Now I'm going to create a second pivot table right over here. So what we do is basically we copy this pivot table, paste it over here and fix the width. All right. Now what I want to do over here is basically we do not need the sales percentage, so we'll just remove this. All right. And after that, we want the product description in our rows. Okay, so we'll just click on that and remove the customer names too. And now you can see that our table has shown our product description and the sales per USD for our products. All right. Now let's say I want to add a slicer to our pivot table over here. So in order to do that, we can just go over here and select the region and click on the filter. But this does not look pretty good because it seems pretty strenuous and time consuming. So instead of doing that, we'll remove this and then right click on region and then select add as slicer. All right. Now you can see that the regions are here and let's adjust our size to our need. Okay. Now you can see if I click on America, only the sales for America come up. And if I just click on Europe, only the sales for Europe come up. We can also have different type of slicer designs, as you can see over here. Let me select this because it matches. Wait, let me select this because it matches best with our contrast to orange over here. So that is all for this video. And I have hoped you've understood how to use the pivot tables according to your needs. And you can see that it is very useful for data description and showing multiple data all at once. Goodbye.